that somebody took the time and do that. If you're asking me as an engineer to highlight the most prominent contribution of Muslims to Canada, of course it will be engineering. There is really no question about that. If the Muslim engineers went on strike, Nortago would tremble. I mean, it's very... That is a reality, and I would challenge anyone to come up with a technology product that was produced in Canada that did not have a significant Muslim contribution rate. But since there are so many Muslims, and we should take a lot of pride in that. And obviously there are a lot of engineers over here. So you all know the story of the Iron Ring, and I will take 2 seconds to say that very quickly. The Iron Ring, Martha's children, that's what the engineers are. For those of you who do not know that story, Mary and Martha were 2 sisters, and Jesus went to visit them. It's a story from the Bible. Jesus, peace be upon him, went to visit them, and poor Martha went into the kitchen and she started cooking to do the serving for the group, and her sister went out and sat with the guests and was having a good time. And Martha was complaining, and she was saying, well, I'm doing the cooking while she's out there having a good time, and that's not fair. And as the story goes, and there are many versions of it, but as I heard it in the Iron Ring ceremonies, she was told, don't underestimate what you are doing a great job, and effectively recognize it and value it. And engineers tend to do that. They build in the backgrounds, and they do not come to the forefront. The problem, as Dr. mentioned, is Muslim engineers have taken that to perfection. So we have gone deep underground, doing all the work. Nobody knows what we're doing. Nobody recognizes the contribution. And if the Muslim engineers, as I said, went on strike, everybody would know it. If the Muslim TV producers of comedy show or the Muslim reporters went on strike, their editor is going to call 5 or 6 people and say, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you not here? And that does need to change. I agree with you. We do need to send our kids out of the kitchen to sit out there in the front with the guests to start contributing in the other side of things, not to undermine engineering, but hold on to the strength over there and move on to other areas to contribute there. But because they're going to start calling me out in 2 seconds, I want to highlight one other contribution that really is individual contribution as opposed to collective contribution. I'm going to read for you the citation that we gave to 2 people that we recognized in Ottawa on Parliament Hill just a short while ago. One of them said, a Muslim, the citation was, to a Muslim, a Canadian, a woman who through her principles, courage and determination has shown all Canadians that one person can indeed change the direction of a nation. That was one person, and you will guess who the other one is. The second one was a Muslim, a Canadian, who had the principles, the courage and conviction to insist on the truth being revealed, and in so doing, brought forth changes that will forever protect the civil liberties of all Canadians. And if you haven't guessed, I'm referring to Munia Mazat and Meher Barar. These 2 people, we tend to think that they did something for our community. What we are not recognizing is that they did something for Canada. They did not just contribute to the Muslim community. The way they stood up, clapping time does not count. Whoever is keeping track of clapping time does not count. So when Munia and Meher stood up for what they were doing, of course they were acting as Muslims. The whole world knew they were Muslims. She is as Muslim as you can be from a looks perspective, and he made it clear. They wore their faith on their heart, and everybody knew it. But when they stood up as Canadians, and they spoke about the Canadian values that are enshrined in our Charter of Rights, that in our rush after September 11th to protect Canada from the perceived threat of Canadian values, our politicians were so much in a rush that they were quite ready to sacrifice the Canadian values to protect the Canadian values. And it took one man, one Muslim man, one Muslim woman to stand up and say, whoa, this is Canada. And we do have values here. And what defines Canada is not the people that are in Canada, the color, it is not the religion, it is not their occupation, it's not the way they look, it is their values. You take away, and there is nothing left. Take that away, nothing will be left for Canada. What Meher Barar and Munia Mazat did, more than contribute to presenting the Muslims in a good light, they contributed to restoring Canadian values to Canada and reminding Canadians that when you stand up and say, we stand on God for thee, you actually do mean it. We stand on God for your values, Canada. And it took the Muslim man and the Muslim woman to remind Canadians to stand up on guard for their values. And if there is ever a contribution, this is it. And never forget that what they did went way beyond that. Watch what's happening now with the RCMP inquiries and the stuff, not the inquiry, the hearings that are on Parliament Hill. The resignation of the commissioner of the RCMP, which was a direct fallout from the Meher Arar affair, opened up the door for what is now looking more and more to be a total reform of the icon of Canadian institutions, the RCMP. And that would have never happened had the commissioner not been taken out because, again, of the actions of a Muslim man and a Muslim woman. We tend to forget, like we tend as Muslims, when one person does something bad, we all pay for it. Whether it's fair or not, we are all branded by the same thing. So guess what? When one person does something good, let's all take credit for it. Let's all collectively say that as Canadians, we are taking credit for having opened the door. As Muslims, we are taking credit for having opened the door for the reform of the RCMP in Canada and for making sure that Canadian values stay Canadian values. We are in this very narrow little corner which we have been pushed in after September 11th, but from that corner we see the threat that's affecting Canada, and it's our responsibility, not just in the contributions that we have done with Meher Arar and Munia Mazen and the inquiry and all of that. It is our responsibility for the future to ensure that our contribution to Canada will simply be restoration and protection of Canadian values. That is the best thing that we as Muslims can do, and we can do it, and the only way we're going to be able to do it is through a better understanding of our religion, Islam. I'll give you one brief analogy. There is somebody from the Nawawi Foundation, I think it was Dr. Abdullah Farouki, who made an analogy that Islam is like a pure stream of water flowing on a bedrock. A bed of rocks. If the bed of rocks is red, you look at it, you see red water. If the bed of rocks is blue, you see blue water. Islam doesn't erase the culture around it, it reflects the beauty of the culture around it. Our Islam over the year has picked up a lot of stuff that we brought with us from our own countries over here into Canada. It's about time for us to look back at our Islam, purify our stream of water, understand our values, and allow Canada to learn from the universal values that Islam presents by showing the beauty of this stream of water and letting the beauty of Canada get reflected to that. If we, as Muslims, take the responsibility of protecting those Canadian values through our better understanding of Islam, it will be our chance to create a tradition of Canadian Muslims over here, just like there are Muslims in Pakistan, Muslims in China, Muslims in Russia, and they all share the same core values of Islam, but they differ in their understanding. Let us go back to the innovations that we have as Muslims. Let us use our critical mind, let us start thinking, let us ask questions, and let us ask not what did the Prophet do, but let us ask what was the Prophet trying to teach us when he did that. It is not the actual actions that he did that are important, it was the message that he was trying to deliver that is important. Let us remember that. The best contribution that any group can do to Canada. We as Muslims have that opportunity. We're very lucky in the sense that after September 11th, we are put in the spotlight, in a horrible spotlight. Everybody's watching. And guess what? Everybody's expecting us to fail. The beauty of that, business people here will tell you, that gives you an incredible opportunity because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if we take our responsibilities right, I'm sure when we have Cam's event 5 years from now, we will be able to say that we have contributed massively to Canada. Thank you very much.